Well, we've got a little less than 6,000 federal workers who are not being paid. Obviously, that's not good for them because even though the government shut down, that doesn't mean the mortgage doesn't come due and the groceries don't have to be bought and paid for. But the other part of that is many of them perform very vital functions. So it's a strain on TSA with inspections of individuals trying to get on airplanes and so forth. And obviously, my opinion is the government ought to be open. These workers ought to be working. They ought to be getting paid. And quite frankly, the border needs to be secured too. And good adult people who can be reasonable and sit down in a room ought to be able to figure something out. But we now have the longest shutdown in our country's history, and it's just not good for the country for this to happen. And so it's my hope that they'll sit down and figure something out sooner than later, get people back to work, and let's move on. So I think the authority for the U.S. Department of Agriculture to administer the SNAP program, or at least the funding, is cut off as of January the 20th. So what they're going to do is, if you are a SNAP beneficiary, your card is going to be loaded for February by January the 20th. And you have to budget, because that is not an additional benefit. That benefit that you get is going to have to carry you all the way through the month of February. So we're encouraging people to be mindful of that. The card should be loaded any day now, but not later than January the 20th. But budget for that additional increment to get you all the way through February, because right now we don't know beyond February the next time this is going to happen should the government not reopen. And the other thing is, if you have an interview scheduled in order to renew your eligibility, or if you've got documents that you're supposed to be turning in, make sure you keep your appointment for the interview. Make sure you turn in your documents. You asked me earlier what other impacts we've had. I found out that we've actually got 333 federal workers who have applied for unemployment insurance benefits because of the layoff, and that's as of this morning. So it may actually be more than that now, and I don't know what that number is going to grow to. But since I had that information, I wanted to kind of give you an update on the answer that I gave you to your question earlier.